Hello, guys and gals, and we will be reading this book. I got it. Well, oh yeah, I got this at the Crossing in Macomb. It is a church-run thrift store. Anyways, the book was 50 cents, as you can see. Probably, I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it, but the name should look familiar. It says Hy Conrad, and if you remember, we did a whole series of I believe it was 80. I believe it was 80 mini mysteries of whodunits by this author. So, and this is also illustrated by Lucy Corvino, which is, I'm not sure if I actually knew who illustrated the last Hy Conrad book. So maybe it's the same person. So this book is called Whodunit, You Decide, Mini Mysteries for You to Solve. Now, these are going to be quite a bit more extensive, to be honest. Illustrated by Lucy Corvino, and this looks like a lot like the same style. As it says here, it says this is all the different all rights reserved right there. It's not saying not to do this. So if there is a problem with the copyright, let me know and I'll take the book down. I'll take the video down rather. But right here we have the opening statement, which is basically the foreword, and then we have all the court cases here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 12. And the way this works is there is the cases, and then the jury deliberation, and then the verdicts. The verdicts is the answer. So, anyways, opening statement. I love a twisty mystery. The locked room, the impossible crime, the pivotal piece of evidence that appears to make no sense even though it has to. I love it when the writer plays with my mind, but plays fair. I love to slowly turn the story inside out and finally discover that elegantly simple twist that once made the author laugh out loud and say, "They'll never untangle this one." The traditional whodunit does not hinge on police techniques, trivia, or even pure logic. It is based on imagination, and I'm often disappointed at how few real whodunits are being written these days. Arthur Conan Doyle, Agatha Christie, and Ellery Queen, the masters of the genre, were always clever and never too annoyingly complex. Whodunit, You Decide is my attempt to revive a taste of this classic form. All 12 of these murder mysteries unraveled in the courtroom share the same premise. Someone stands accused of a crime, and it is up to the jury, you, the reader, to untangle the evidence and to find the defendant guilty or not guilty. Of course, as you'll discover, it's never that simple. There's always a twist. With the murder, a frame-up. Was it an accident? Was a suicide made to look like a murder, or did something even more devious happen? Begin by reading one of the court cases in this book. Consider the trial witness and evidence. The trial witnesses and evidence section at the end of the story, and note the minimum number of clues required to reach the informed verdict. Choose from the 5 possibilities which pieces of evidence you'll review first. Examine the clues one at a time and try to digest each clue before you consider the next. Very few readers will be able to solve a case and reach a verdict in the recommended minimum number of clues. Most readers will need to wade through all 5 pieces of evidence before going into deliberation. In the jury deliberations section, you, as a member of the sitting jury, must review the evidence and try to make sense of it. If your budding theory fails to address all the concerns debated in jury deliberations, then return to the account of the crime and the evidence. Take your time and review the case, and try to tie up all loose ends before you finally look at the solution in the verdicts section. Classic whodunits rank among the purest form of puzzle. They ask you to make delicious sense out of what's seemingly contradictory. So please, relax and enjoy them. Devising these devilish twisters demands a lot of hair-pulling and laughing out loud. I hope you'll find just as much fun solving them as I did creating them. That is by Hy Conrad, the author. First one is Our Man in the Field. See, this is short enough right here. At 9:08 p.m., a silent alarm rang at Ajax Security Company, sending an armed guard to the Midtown branch of First National Bank. When he arrived on the scene, the guard discovered masked men scooping $20 bills out of the automatic teller machines. One of the burglars physically attacked the guard, getting his own mask torn off in the fight and revealing his face to the bank's video system. Somehow the guard managed to pull his gun and shoot, hitting his adversary square in the chest. The second burglar dropped the money and went to his bleeding partner. His bleeding partner's aid. He dragged his injured friend into a light-colored car hidden in a nearby alley. Both bank robbers escaped. About 7 miles away, a pair of workmen from the water department had just finished restoring service to a rural neighborhood. The water was off for about an hour, the senior technician later told the police. We got it running at about 8:55, then stopped for a cup of coffee. We were just heading back when Mike spotted this guy in the field. It was a full moon, and we could see he was dragging something through the weeds. We pulled over to see if he needed help, and when we saw the body... then we saw the body. He was dragging this dead, bloody body. This guy was little and didn't have a gun, so Bill held him while I phoned the police. This was like 9:25. We arrived at 9:30, Officer Brill explained. The man identified himself as Wally Heath. The body had a bullet in its chest, but Mr. Heath didn't have any explanation to offer. He invited us into his house. Mr. Heath, as it happens, lives right beside the field. The house was furnished nicely, but kind of messy. He said his wife had recently left him, run off with some traveling salesman. He seemed more preoccupied with telling us about his domestic situation than about this body. We were there for maybe 10 minutes. Just before we took him in, the washing machine timer went off. We went with him to check it and saw the clothes in the washer were kind of dingy, like they'd been sitting in dirty water. We advised him not to touch them, just in case there might be some evidence. Then we read him his rights. When the case came to trial, Wallace Heath stood accused of robbery, not murder. The corpse had been dragged through the field and had been identified as the late Judd Oken, a career criminal with a rap sheet in burglary and larceny. Computer-enhanced stills of the surveillance camera identified him as the unmasked burglar shot by the security guard. A still of the other robber remained unhelpful. Although the masked image did resemble Wally Heath in general size and build, it also resembled hundreds of other local men. In court, Wally Heath's attorney seems at a loss. Defense. My client has absolutely no criminal record. He has lived in this town for 8 years, held the same job for 7, and was married to the same woman for 12, although the Heaths were not a particularly sociable couple. Mr. Heath has been known for his to be a law-abiding man with the patience of a saint. He was at home the entire night in question, watching TV and doing his laundry. True, Mr. Heath is not willing to tell us how he happened across Judd Oken, or why he was dragging the body through the field behind his house. But it is not the defense's job to establish Wally Heath's innocence, but rather it is the prosecution's job to establish his guilt, something they will be unable to do. You and your fellow jurors are also at a loss. If Heath is so innocent, then why won't he explain his incriminating behavior? Okay, here's the trial witness and the evidence. This crime can be solved with 2 clues. Evidence. Secured infield. Officer. The field covers about 2 acres. Bordering the field on 2 adjacent sides is a road that swings around. On the 3rd side is the Heath house, and on the 4th is an abandoned well with a patch of woods behind it. The tall weeds left good impressions. It was easy to spot the path of trampled weeds. It appeared that the body had been dragged from the road into the middle of the field. We found the body about midway along the path. It was face up, the feet pointing towards the road. Prosecution cross-examination. What makes you think the path had been made by the dragged body? Officer: we found blood and fibers along the entire path. They all match those of Judd Oken. Prosecution Exhibit C, Autopsy Report. Autopsy Report. Cause of death was a single gunshot wound to the chest. The bullet entered the thorax cavity between the third and fourth rib, causing a collapsed lung and piercing the septum wall between the left and right ventricles. Death occurred within 5 to 10 minutes. Prosecution: was the bullet in Mr. Oken fired from the handgun belonging to the Ajax Security Company guard? Defense objection. The medical examiner is not a ballistics expert. The prosecution's next witness, a ballistics expert, testifies that the bullet did indeed come from the security guard's gun. Evidence from the car. Please describe the car that was parked by the field. It was a tan Toyota registered to the defendant. It was parked on the road beside the path of trodden-down weeds. The Toyota's trunk was open, and inside was a shovel. No dirt was visible on the shovel or in the trunk, so we assumed the implement had not been used recently. Prosecution: was Mr. Heath's car searched for blood, fiber, hair, dirt, etc.? Officer: yes, it was. And the result? There was no blood of any kind, no dirt or vegetation. We did find several hairs matching the defendant's and fiber matching his clothes, also several unidentified hairs and fibers, but we found nothing at all matching the late Mr. Oken. Laundry analysis. Defense witness. The defense introduces a chemist who analyzed the dirty clothing in Wally Heath's washing machine. Chemist: I started by comparing the dirt in the washer to soil samples from the field. Defense: and the results? No match. Were you ever able to match the dirt samples from the clothes? As a matter of fact, yes. I discovered from the county that there had been a water main break that evening. When the water was turned back on at 8:55, it ran dirty for the first several minutes. If Mr. Heath had started the wash cycle at 8:55 or soon after, he would have filled the machine with that dirty water. The samples match perfectly. Evidence from the defendant's house. Defense: did you examine the house for clothing? Investigating officer: yes, and we found nothing resembling the light-colored jumpsuit worn by the masked perpetrator. Defense: would you expect the perpetrator's clothes to have blood on it? Yes, Judd Oken was bleeding heavily. The other man would certainly have gotten it on himself. And did you find any blood at all in Mr. Heath's house? We did. What? You did? Yes, we ran over the entire house with phosphorescent light, designed to reveal the smallest traces of blood. We found blood residue on the floor of the laundry room and the kitchen, and trailing out into the field. The defense appears devastated by the revelation. Okay, now, jury deliberations. Let me see if I can find the right one here. What was this one called? Our Man in the Field. Okay. Our Man in the Field. The deliberations. Oh, wait. What comes next? Let me see. Sorry about this. I'm new to this. Jury deliberations. 75. So we are, okay, and then that's the verdicts. Okay. I forget what page we were on. I should have paid attention. Willow of the Wisp, Trial of the Black. Okay. Here, our Man of the Field. Okay, we got it. The prosecution established that Oken was the unmasked robber. Other jury members agree. Oken has been killed by the guard and had been dragged across the field by the accused. The dragging, however, presents problems. If I can get the page to turn. Okay, there we go. You need to consider that the bloody path leads to the center of the field, well beyond the spot where Heath was caught with the body. Also, both the shovel and car were clean of the deceased blood, clothing, fibers, and hair. Heath, you conclude, must have been dragging the body to his car and not from it. Although the defense may not realize it, Wally Heath's laundry helps confirm his alibi. The dirty water indicates that Wally Heath started the cycle after 8:55. Most wash cycles are 30 to 40 minutes long since the bank alarm went off at 9:08 and the bank was 7 miles from the defendant's house. He could not have been both robbed the bank and been at the house to put the laundry in the washer. The only really incriminating piece of evidence which has shocked Heath's attorney was the discovery of human blood in the laundry room, in the kitchen, and outside the back door. Now, I'm completely stumped on this, so we're going to go to the verdict and see what we can find out from that. The one striker out. I think that it's the next page. Army in the field verdict. The prosecution has not proven its case. You find Wallace Heath not guilty. Minutes after the jury foreman reads the verdict, a rookie patrolman exploring the field behind Wally Heath's house discovers a body in an abandoned well. It is found to be the remains of Amanda Heath, Wally's missing wife, who had been stabbed to death with a kitchen knife. I kind of figured something like that because he said there was problems with the wife. Faced with this discovery, Wally breaks down. 2 weeks before he had been arrested dragging Oaken's body, Wally had yet another explosive domestic quarrel, lost his temper, and killed his wife. He dumped the body into the well and invented the story about Amanda running off with a salesman. Since Amanda has no family and few friends nearby, everyone readily believed Wally's tale. On the night of the robbery, Wally was in the laundry room when he happened to look out his window. By the light of the full moon, he could see a man drag a body into the field, dumping it only a few dozen yards from the well. Wally went crazy with worry. The man's body was bound to be discovered, and when it was, the police would make a thorough search, finding Amanda in the process. Wally had no choice. He had to move the new body. If it were found anywhere else, the police would have no reason to scour this little field, and Amanda could rest in peace. Unfortunately, the county workers saw him in the moonlight just as he began to drag the burglar's body to his car. It was, of course, preferable to be convicted of bank robbery than of murder, so Wally said nothing to incriminate himself. In his confession, Wally described the bank robber's getaway car and the man he saw depositing the body in the field. Jed Oaken's cousin is soon arrested on bank robbery charges. Okay, that's one. And I think we'll probably only do one of these at a time. And we will pick this up in the next episode. We've been reading Whodunit, You Decide, Many Mysteries for You to Solve by Hy Conrad. Illustrated by Lucy Corvino. If you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. And if you want to support me in any way, all that information will be in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.